All right, Cousin Tone. I am super excited tonight. We have a guest who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Now, if you Google the phrase take the bull by the horns, this man's picture is going to be right next to it. He's literally broken the IG algorithm, and he's been in everyone's feed, especially since the National. I'm referring to Mr. Denny Cards, a.k.a. Hobby S. Thompson. What's up, baby? How you doing, brother?
Man, I love that intro. Thank you for having me. I'm just here not to get fined. I already messed that up.
You want to go over?
No.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean,
I
I have
didn't, I
no
didn't
clue
know.
how y'all
You're
do
like,
it.
I already messed it up. It's all good, baby. So check it out,
Yeah.
man. Listen, dude. Seriously, we've been seeing you all over the internet, all over IG. It's like you. I wouldn't say you came out of nowhere. It's kind of been a gradual progression.
Mm,
We heard about you a few months ago.
mm.
We've been talking, and then all of a sudden, bam! Especially since the national, you've been all over the place, man. What's going on? Like, like, what are you trying to do? Take over?
Uh, what is that Miley Cyrus song? I came in like a wrecking ball. No, I mean, here's the thing. I've been around for a bit. I have been posting pretty consistently. I love Instagram. That's my card fam. I know people do TikTok, Facebook, and all these other places, and they have Discord servers. For me, it's really the Instagram family. And I recently celebrated my 1,000 posts milestone, and I've been posting consistently since last September when I turned 40. And for me, I've always been posting, but I feel like my content creation has evolved. I definitely take these phases of I do just card. When I first started out, I was just taking pictures of cards on my floor, and I went from that to making little reels, and then I didn't show my face for like the first like 6 months of posting content, and then I just started showing it more. And then when it came to national, I was just on the ground floor. I was having so much fun that what my main goal was not to get into the top of everyone's algorithm. It was really two things. One was to document my own journey, to like remember like how much fun I had. But the secondary thing was really to let people who weren't there just see how much fun it was, and to just kind of like exude that, that joy of being
Mhm.
there. And so, I'm just really glad to have had a really good time. I'm old, and sometimes my back gives out, my knees give out. I felt really lucky that I didn't have any sort of like back injury where I was like, oh man, I can't go Saturday, I can't go Friday. I had a great time. I ate a lot of shrimp, and I know some people are really upset about me posting eating shrimp, but that's the internet for you.
Dude, I'm jealous. That's one thing. I love shrimp. So when I seen you digging in, I was like, man, Tony, where were we at that day? We were that's when we had our dinner with the wolf pack, right?
I think so. I mean, dude, it was such a whirlwind. I don't know. I just opened up IG and this guy's sitting in front of a big pile of shrimp. So yeah.
So Denny, real quick, man, let,
Yeah.
let me ask you about the Hobby S. Thompson,
Hmm.
and also the decision to go ahead and keep your face basically off of IG for the first 6 months. What was your thinking behind all that?
Well, I mean, I'm going through some things right now where people are like really upset that they're seeing my face on their feeds, and it's probably because one, they didn't know my prior content, but also like, yeah, they're just newer to me. But this really was never about me, and like people think I'm like clout chasing. Really, this is about representation. I think that they're in a very white male dominated space. It is good to see other people of different ethnicities and cultures represented on social media. So for me, the big moment happened when I was talking to one of the people I talk to on a regular basis, Dan, the great curator, who was like, you talk about representation, but you got to do more than just talk. You have to, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. So I had a really, several deep, meaningful conversations with my wife about representation and wanting to make this hobby space more inclusive. I have two young kids, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old boy. We made a very strong boundary. They wouldn't be on camera. She wouldn't be on camera, but that I could be on camera. My dog could be on camera. And so once we drew those very strongly delineated boundaries, I was like, you know what, let's do this. Let's give it a shot. And I talked a little bit about this on my podcast, which is the Hobby S. Thompson part. But I have a podcast where people were like, that name's not going to work. I mean, the name didn't really matter. I think people are going to go to wherever they gravitate towards, like content that they like to consume. And for me, my podcast is really about trying to explore the different aspects of the hobby where we have people who you may not know a lot about. And so what I wanted to do was wear my hat, so it's like the Hunter S. Thompson was the author who embedded himself with different groups, and he got to know them and live with them and really get to report out about them. And so Hunter S. Thompson, I turned that into Hobby S. Thompson. One of his books was called The Rum Diary, so I called mine The Card Diary, and off I went. And I started from 0 listens at episode 0, and I've had it for like 3 months now, and I love it. I mean, what I'm trying to do is figure out what I like to do. Like I've realized I'm not very good at selling and transactions on breaking, but I really love podcasting. I mean, buying is always fun, but I just love creating content. It's not about me trying to chase the likes or the algorithm. It's more about I love just making content that I think will make people laugh. I really do. Like that's my main goal. If you can watch my content and laugh or just feel something, whether it's like an emotion, that makes it all worth it for me.
Good. Well, you're definitely out there. So, but we'll touch on that a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that because so basically we're gonna switch it up a little bit. Not so much your regular interview. I told you guys, I said that's few and it's cool and all, but you're a content creator, and I guess we try to be right, us. So I figured,
sorry, I don't
Right.
mean to interrupt you, but you got that glove going with the MJ music and the Allen Iverson. You got something going good right now. I love it.
Listen, I don't know how the hell I came up with that. I was like, you know what? I want to show off some of these shiny cards because I've been taking pictures of them, but the cards that I've been taking pictures of, it just doesn't do it justice because they're all the shiny. So you need to see the light reflecting off of it. So then I was gonna do one of the hand modeling, like Tony's known for his hand modeling and doing the old,
Beautiful. Yeah.
that beautiful hand of his. And I said, nah. And I had I had the Michael Jackson glove. I was like, you know what? Perfect. Boom.
Yes.
Put it on, started to glitter, and then you picked up the AI shiny, and it was magic, bro. Throw a little bit of MJ on there, and it's all good.
I love it, man. I really do. So yeah, no, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, that thing is definitely taking off. So props to you on that there, Mr. Oz.
Gracias.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys, man, for and Denny, I'll start with you first. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but still let's see if we can dive in a little deeper here. So for those of us who attended the national, excluding the dealers who came back cash heavy, what do you think that most national attendees are doing to keep themselves occupied after going all out in Rosemont?
It's really interesting. I thought about that question in terms of like what, who went, who didn't. I put up a poll before national where I was like, what percentage of people do you think are going to national that are in the hobby? And people were like, well, it's a very broad question because are you talking about, just the US, international? They have the gate numbers. I forget exactly what it was, but they, definitely said it was the most attended one. And if it was over 100,000, out of those 100,000 attendees, how many of them were not hobbyists, right? Like, just wives and children of and I hate to say like wives, but, like the spouses of people who are collecting, but, just going from the demographics. For me, I don't know what most people did. I know for me, I came back with an avalanche. Like seriously, I had so much content that people don't believe me, but I'm like, I could do content like just national content, like 3 reels a day, and I can go through next month. I mean, I really could. So I'm trying to figure out how to edit it, how to cut it down. And again, I just love doing it. Like people aren't paying me to do pump their product or their service or anything like that. I just remember going and having a good time, meeting some cool people, and just wanting to give shine to them, like uplift them, because we live in this fractured social media world where everything is just broken down, and people want to bash things. But I'm here to add value to the hobby, not to take away from it. So that's what I've been doing. What are other people doing? I mean, the people who went, they're probably going through the camera rolls and having a good time and just reminiscing and DMing, friends that they met there. And people who didn't go, I mean, which is a lot of people. Um, I imagine that they were buying and selling and transacting the whole time. But I think some people were maybe a little upset or bitter that they didn't go. But there's always next year, and there's so many shows around that I just don't want people to feel so bad about missing it, because it's just one show. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it's like it's gonna happen again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. But for those who did go, it's an event, it's a happening. It's for some it's a whole week. For us, it was like 3 days, 3.5 days. And in that 3.5 days, it's a whirlwind. It's meeting people, it's kissing babies, it's hugging, it's spending a lot of money, looking for your grail cards. So it's a whole big to do. For Tony and I, we really didn't do too much as far as, looking for content. We were kind of like, we were focused on the trade night. We were focused on getting cards and just meeting people. So I kind of kicked myself in the ass sometimes thinking, damn, we could have got a lot of good content, or at least some pictures with people. We took a ton of pictures, but the problem was the pictures that we took were on other people's phones. So we never got any of them. So, unfortunately that, we never got to see any of those. But for me, as far as what I'm doing right now, because I'm tapped out, man. As far as money's concerned, I spend a lot of money. I had taken money that I had saved, and then I took some cards to sell. So it got all spent basically. So here I am back to reality. Now it's back to delivering the mail, trying to make some money, trying to save up, trying to see what I can do to you know that FOMO. It's real. It's still there even after all this time. eBay's still there knocking on my door every 5 seconds. I'm getting something cool that's popping up, and I'm just trying to remain focused. I'm trying to keep patient. Um, so I don't go ahead and overextend myself. It's tough when especially with Allen Iverson. There's so many cards, so little money. And then I'm doing my MJ and things like that. So it's been tough since I've gotten back, not being able to go ahead and really look at my watch list. I've kind of had to erase that and leave that, put that to the side, and really focus more on being MJ with the glove, and showing my shiny stuff
Yeah.
that I have, showing the things that I have off, and trying to create my content that way instead of thinking of ways to get new stuff to do. So it's just it's a catch-22 right now, but I'm dealing with it. What about you, Tone?
Yeah, I'm totally opposite, bro. Well, before I get into that, I will say that we were like the non-content creating content creators.
Yeah.
We were definitely like just more so living in the moment. We did a little bit, but I think there's something to be said for that. Like I just came off I went away with some of my cousins for a bachelor party, and my wife said, "Man, you didn't take a lot of pictures or things like that." We took a couple, but I was like, you know what? I think a lot of times we get caught up with looking like, it's so weird that we're like live and then everybody's like this. Where you're, and for those to say it like this, I'm holding my phone up and everything is through the phone. Um, and there's something to be said about living in the moment and just being like, hey, this is what happened. Not everything always has to be. And I get it. We're content creators and we're not creating, but whatever. Like I said, we're just caught up. We were caught up in having a good time. Um, as far as what I'm doing after the fact, I've actually made now 3 purchases. So I bought a bunch of 56 tops today from a guy, but then the other night, um, surprise, surprise, Oz, I bought a pretty nice card. I'm still waiting for it to come in the mail, but
Look at that. How
yeah,
nice.
I like to surprise you all the
No,
time.
you like to be an ass and not say anything. That's what you like to do.
It's not that, bro. It's like
Dude, it's about listen. Let me stop the show right here, right now. All right. The whole reason we got into this thing is to work together as a team and to build each other up. And when you got something you're looking at, you come to me and say, "Hey, cousin Oz, what do you think about this card? Is this something I should get?" Or and I could be like, "Yo, that's dope," and I can live in the dream with you, bro. But no, you keep me in the dark, all right? And then
yeah, but
What?
I
What?
like to
What?
I like to see your reaction to it when I
No,
have the
my
card
reaction
in
is gonna be
hand.
like this. I'm like,
Nah,
thanks for telling me. That's my
well,
reaction.
because you're just a jerk.
No, you're the jerk for holding it away from me, Denny. Tell him. It's not nice.
I can't get in the middle of this familial dispute. I just love being here. It's like I get to be the fly in the wall in real time, and that's why I'm so glad to be here. Just you guys doing this is what I love. Just that family love, in many different forms. But I did want to say like I'm more with odds with like the spending. Like I didn't go into national with a big budget, but even when I left, I ended up spending everything. And for me, it was more like creating content doesn't cost money. I mean, yes, I have like a CapCut, pro subscription, but like, StreamYard subscription, but creating content, consuming content, even like things like, I plan to do a chapter episode about custom card art, but taking an X-Acto knife and cutting up base cards to try to see if you like creating custom card art is basically free because it's base cards and you just buy the X-Acto knife. But there's so many ways to enjoy the hobby that don't require the transactional side. It's almost like the creative side, right? It's like
Mhm.
this part of us that get to create and not have to spend money to do so. And when it comes to the pictures, I love what those pictures don't capture is the before discussion and the after discussion, right? It's just it's a moment in time, a picture is, but all those talks that even you and I we had are at the curator's table where it was like blazing hot, but you guys came over and we were talking and I took the selfie, but us, the three of us talking before that picture and after the picture, those are the things that I remember. The picture just encapsulates that moment in time. And when it comes to reels, same thing. Like, I'll turn the video on, but the stuff that was said before the video and after the video, those are the things that I'll remember with all the people that I got to talk with. And but a very important point that Tony made, which is like living in the moment. That is so important. My wife says that all the time with me with the kids. I mean, even when you're taking pictures and videos of your kids, they're like, well, let's just savor this moment, or let's just have that moment in our mind, as opposed to like having to try to capture everything. But I gotta say, like, I don't think it detracted or took away from me having fun at National because it was like 24/7 for me, Wednesday to Sunday, like 5 days straight. So there were so many times that I didn't capture moments and videotape. I just happened to keep rolling because I was like, I'll just cut whatever. There's so much that I cut because just I want to make my content digestible. Like there's some people who vlog on YouTube, which is not my style, but they'll do like 1 hour videos of them walking around and doing transactions. And for me, I just know that that's not my style. Like I don't mind that content. It's just that that's not the content that I want to create. It was about the people and the stories and just getting to know everyone. So but yes, very much good point is living in the moment is super important.
You know what, Tony? That's a real good thing to say to my wife. I never really thought about that. Be like, "Hey, Oz, you were at a bachelor party. You really, didn't take any
Yeah.
pictures,
Well, I
babe.
wanted to address that. Go ahead.
Babe, I was living in the moment."
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. So I'm 44 years old. So 44-year-old bachelor party version is a lot different than 20-year-old bachelor party version.
Right.
So it's like, dude, I'll tell you what, we went hard the first day and then I was recovering for 2 days.
Yep.
So it's 44-year-old Tony is not the same as 24-year-old Tony.
Uh-huh.
So,
Sure.
that I can, you
Yeah.
can choose to believe it or not, but it is
Uh-huh.
what it is.
Yeah.
So, but
Gotcha.
and again, I mean, there's only certain places where you can't video in certain places. So there's that.
Right. Of course.
So,
Of
you know,
course.
that's
It
it
all
seems
makes
to
Absolutely.
be
sense.
it's frowned upon in certain establishments. I don't
Yes,
know,
yes.
whatever. So speaking of frowned upon, and Oz, I'll lead off with you here with Ish hitting the fan with our boy
Mm.
Wander Franco. What lessons can we learn from gambling on unproven prospects?
Oh boy. Mr. Wanda Franco, Mr. Jesus, the guy that could walk on water. We talked about this dude about a year and a half. I don't know if you've listened to episode. Um, what was it again, Tony? It was
It's like hobby pitfalls or something
Hobby
like that.
Pitfalls.
I have to.
And Wanda Franco was about a year and a half ago, I believe. It was in February of 2022. We talked about it. and he was the hottest thing since sliced bread, and everybody, they were prospecting on him and spending thousands of dollars. I believe the one card sold for over $100,000. Some red refractor out of 124, whatever serial number, blah blah blah. And Tony and I were like, how can you go ahead and spend that type of money for someone that's never even stepped on the field? This was before he even started playing. Um, and we just couldn't wrap our heads around that. You know, it was just like you have, when you come into the hobby, you have a decision to make where it's like, okay, what do I want to collect? Do I want to collect a goat? Somebody I grew up watching and that's already established. They might be already retired, but you know what they did and what, you know, the accolades that they accumulated, whether they won championships or not. You know, some people can collect MJ, and I know you know you dabbled, Denny, and Tony, you've dabbled, and I've tried to dabble, and you know MJ's like the ultimate goat. We know that. So he has cards that you can get that are cheap, but then most of his cards, if you want to really get into it, they cost some money, but it's worth it. But then you have on the opposite spectrum is, you know, guys like Wander Franco, and it's something you know, with the hobby, I think there's a gambling aspect to it with a lot of people. They like to get their fix, and they get it through cards, and they get it through buying boxes and trying to get the hit, or being the first to go ahead and hit big on somebody. So like, you know, Wemby, I mean, it's kind of hard to get ahead of that because everybody's like they as soon as the cards come out, they were through the roof. You know, even the Sports Illustrated for kids was ridiculous when it came out, so it was tough to get ahead of the curve with him. But you know, with when it comes to baseball, you know, they're doing the Bowman Chrome and they're prospecting, and it's people that have been in, you know, double A, triple A, and they're waiting. They haven't, you know, even played in the major leagues, and guys are dropping big time money on them, and they'll buy a box, you know, from 2 years ago, put it away, open it up, you know, 2, 3 years, and say, oh man, you know, I didn't know, you know, for example, it was maybe, you know, let's just say Trout when he came in, you know, a lot of people made some good money on Trout. So they're always chasing that carrot. That's the dangling carrot. And, you know, when you hit big, but 9 times out of 10, you usually don't. So you get stuck with all these cards, and it's like, I don't know, like it's, I can't see myself operating like the money that I spend in this hobby. It's, I don't have a lot of it. So I got to be very judicious on what I do. So I'm not going to go ahead and just waste on people that have probably going to be out of the league, if not even make it to the league. So it just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to take the money that I have. And, you know, we talk about the goats that I collect, the, you know, the Allen Iversons and the, you know, Michael Jackson, things like that. Um, I know what they did and the accomplishments that they had. So to me, it's not that there's nothing that's safe in this hobby. So let me just
Mhm.
preface that. Doesn't matter if you get into goats, prospects, or anything. You know, with the way the hobby is, it goes up and it goes down. So what you buy, you got to really like it and love it. You know, it's that cliche, oh, you know, buy what you like, buy what you love, but it really comes true because it's like if you're going to go ahead, for example, and take all your money and invest it into prospects, and then you get stuck with them, you're gonna despise those cards. You're gonna hate those cards, and then you can't move them. So if you're gonna go ahead and take money that you've worked hard to go ahead and do it, I think you better put into something that you're at least gonna enjoy if you can't sell it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Denny, before I go to you, I'll just some things that popped into my head. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when you do these, when you look at this stuff, it's like few players are great. Most of them are run of the mill, and you get like a few that are great. Even fewer are legends. And then when you get to the legends, there's even levels to that. Think about it. You got Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. They're not here. It's like this. You know, it's a way it's way skewed more towards Jordan. So like with this stuff, I mean, we talk about this all the time, man. And I mean, it's unfortunate what happened with Franco because you know, if this is allegedly too, I'm not gonna, you know, allegedly some shenanigans are afoot. And shenanigans is putting it lightly. But yeah, but we see this every day. I mean, this happens today with Franco or whatever, and tomorrow a new shiny dude comes out, and the same thing happens again, and it'll
John
happen again.
Morant is going through it. You
Sure.
know, there's, you know, you just insert athlete, and it's like it doesn't matter. Like the people are going to gravitate towards these new guys because they just it's almost like a drug. You know what I mean? Like I said, they're getting their fix and they're hoping to be the first ones to get into these athletes and then I guess make a profit somehow, some way.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this though. It's like it's easy for us to say, oh, you should be collecting Jordan and whoever, Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth. I know if I was 13 years old today, I wouldn't give a crap about those guys. I'd
Mhm.
be all about Ja, Franco, whoever, whatever the hot Trevor Lawrence, guys like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, until you start learning in the hobby, which, unless you have somebody taking it under your wing, you're going to buy a lot of the wrong, quote unquote, the wrong stuff until you figure it out. So, I mean, this is just a cycle that I don't think we'll ever stop seeing. I mean, hell, the hobby it's built on it, bro. They got new stuff coming out all the time. I mean, now they got this. They're trying to make some Bowman Chrome of Roberto Clemente, Babe Ruth, stuff like that. It looks all right, but I'm like,
You'll get it.
Nah.
Yeah.
You can buy it for me. So, but Denny, where you at on these gambling and unproven players?
All right. Well, I'm not saying this to take a contrarian standpoint, but I just did want to inject some history into this, okay? Because I've had some time to think about this question.
Nice.
I can't talk about Wander. Like, I love to joke, but I'm very family friendly content oriented, so
Mhm.
I'll just leave that aside. But I'm gonna take you back to 1986, right? So we have a prospect. At that time, he broke his foot and played, I forget exactly how many games, somewhere in the teens, maybe 19, something like that. In his second year, he won Rookie of the Year. He was a rising star, but people were not sure if he was gonna play well. 1996 ish, we have a high school player drafted 13th by the Charlotte Hornets. He airballs 4 times against the Utah Jazz in the playoffs that year as a rookie, I think. And then we have 2000 maybe 8-ish or so, because I know he was in the 2007 draft class, but we have a very tall, a lot of these 7-footers will want to be called 7-footers because they want to play power forward. They want to be like 6'11", right? All that stuff. But Liz Frank fracture, I think it was. But those 3 players, right? Jordan, Kobe, Durant, these are all players who very early on were highly coveted, got injured. We weren't sure if they're going to do well. These were prospects at one point. Jordan, people hated Jordan. I mean, now he's beloved by so many, but people in Detroit, New York, Indiana, of course, then you got the Western Conference when he was playing the Suns, the Sonics, and the Jazz. But so many people hated Jordan. Like a lot of people did like him, but 86. His star cards were in those little bags. You're pointing at, Oz?
Yeah, big time Jordan hater.
Yeah, I mean, so no, I totally get it. But the thing is, like, I collected Jordan as a kid because he had all that riz. He had that, like, nowadays kids love Ja because of his riz, right? And then he got into a lot of trouble. We didn't know because social media didn't exist at that time. But can you imagine Jordan if social media was in Jordan's age when he was womanizing gambling? Like, we heard about those stories, but we didn't really, you know, absorb it in real time, right? So I just got to say, like, prospect chasing is gambling. It's very it's already, right, breaking and ripping sealed wax and opening wax is already such a gamble. Then you add on the prospect element of it. It's like gambling. You have to hit black 3 times in a row to, like, make your money back or something like that, right? It's just so hard. But that's why collecting what you love is important. But I think the flip side of the coin is sell what you don't like. I mean, a lot of people get into these breaks not even to try to collect cards. There, it almost is like a slot machine, like legalized gambling. I recently pulled a card for a customer when I was a breaker for a little bit. It was a 1 of 1 Desmond Ritter select RPA card, and that person didn't even get the card because during the stream we ended up finding a buyer for him who wired him money, so he never even saw the card. He spent $70 on a select pack, got, I won't say the number, but 4 figures for the card, And he was like, all right, well, I'm gonna keep time to put more money into the slot machine, So the prospecting, I mean, talk about prospects. Like, who knows what Desmond Ritter's going to do? Who knows what Pickett are going to do? But these quarterbacks, they drive the entire football hobby for that year, right? All the rookies do. So I don't know. I was long winded there, but
No.
hope that little start with talking about Jordan, Kobe, and Durant kind of helped a little bit.
Yeah, it's just I think it's more just about the prices, that yeah, it's just the fact that a Desmond Ritter card is four figures. To me, it's just mind boggling. I said it I think last night on the stream, I forget where it was, but to me, the guys, the wrestling guys have it right. The legends are the ones that are worth the most, and the up and comers have room to grow. Just again, it doesn't make any sense to me that guys who, I mean, you just have Arch Manning just set a record where his cards sold more than Eli and Peyton. To me, that's absolutely pathetic. Like, I mean, it's just backwards, doesn't make any sense. I don't give a crap how you want to justify it. It just makes zero sense because there's no way for that kid to do anything on the field that's going to make that card go up.
Yeah.
I mean, you just saw Mahomes win the Super Bowl and his cards went
Mhm.
down.
Right.
So
And there's no way he is going to be better than Peyton or
no,
Eli on SNL. I mean, those two,
there's
man,
no way.
like Peyton when he's like pegging those kids, in that little football game. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
so good, so
yeah.
good.
I'll tell
And
you.
Denny, you talked about those three. For those three, I can name you 100 that
Oh yeah.
absolutely were trash that people
Mm-hmm.
were also investing in trying to get ahead of the game because it's all a guessing game. So you might
Yeah.
hit with Jordan, you might hit with, those particular players, Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
but you're losing on 20, 30 other players because you're constant when you're doing that, when you're in that game, you're just basically you're prospecting on everybody. You're buying
Oh yeah.
boxes.
Jonathan Bender, Jermaine O'Neal, Harold Miner. I mean, some of them were high school players straight out. I mean, everyone thinks of Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant, but like
Yeah.
there's so many who don't pan out. Kwame Brown, right? I mean, but again, I think what Tony said was so right. The money now is so much higher. Back
Yeah.
then, when I was collecting, the packs were like, $1 to $5, and some of them were like a little, $10. Oh my gosh, like I remember when Exquisite came out, people were like, "Oh my gosh, like $600 a box, that's impossible." And it's
Yeah.
like, I remember thinking those people must be super rich, and it's like, man, like that's like a prison box. That's just
Yeah,
nothing,
yeah, and the thing is,
iMac.
I think about that was 2003, right? That's when
Yeah,
Exquisite came out.
yeah,
Uh, I was like 28 years old, I believe.
mm,
Like, I had money,
mm-hmm.
but did I have enough balls to put $500 into a box of cards? You
Yeah,
feel me? So it's
yeah,
not so much, that like back then, oh man, putting $500, that you got to be rich to do it. No, you got to
right.
have cojones
Oh
to
yeah.
say, you know what, I'm gonna put $500 in a box of cards and hope
Mm-hmm.
that I can make my money back. And back then, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like it is right now. You know what I
No,
mean? You weren't thinking those cards were going to be worth, 100,000, 500,
no,
Right.
possibly $1 million. You didn't
no.
think about because, cars. It was like, okay, we'll get some cards, and maybe 25 years from now, they'll be worth something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough.
Can I just say about there's a big thing right now with like purist collectors who are like, oh, it's just such a business. But I mean, back when the hobby was more affordable, I think people did have more fun. But the thing is, like I've talked about this with like, Rob, the sports card therapist, on when I had him on my podcast. We collected it from 2007 to 2012, where there was no community, there was no social media, there was no online community. Like there was blowout card forums, and there was one called Sports Card Forum that I was part of. But people were literally doing live breaks by posting what each pack had, and it wasn't like streaming, it wasn't live. I mean, there was some YouTube. I know Cards Infinity was there. My guy Alex Tressler, Army ATC, shout out to him. He was doing exquisite pulls and overseas while wearing like military fatigues. But that was like the complete outlier. A lot of us were just kind of like silos in our apartments or in our homes, just like opening up packs and just taking putting up a picture on photo bucket or whatever and being like, do you want this card? So the community. So there's so much good and bad that came from just having no social media back then, and also of course the virtues and vices of social media nowadays. But I don't remember where I was going with this, but thank you.
Oh, good. You actually have a topic there about declared values in cards. So why don't you set the table there, and I guess we can let the people's mailman lead off.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So you asked, you said, why do we accept that declared value is a real thing, and that more expensive cars cost more to grade with some companies such as PSA?
So the old debate, it's like you want to talk about a catch-22, double-edged sword when it comes to, especially with PSA. Obviously, we're talking about PSA. Um, it's the thing, like, you go ahead and you get your card graded, you declare a value, and then you don't want to pay that upcharge, but if you were to get that upcharge, you're ecstatic. You're happy about it. You're like, you got yourself a banger, and you're gonna get something that's worth some real money, and that people in the hobby will recognize it because PSA declares it. Says, yeah, listen, this card is worth such amount. So we're gonna take our cut right now. We're gonna go ahead. That we talk about. I forget who came up with it, the hobby tax. Who
Yeah,
came up
it
with
was
that?
I forget his name right now, but it was a gentleman that was on Shane's show. He runs a show up in Connecticut.
Yeah, so he
Yeah.
called it, PSA is basically going ahead and taxing the hobby. They're getting their cut. They know that once that card gets into a PSA graded slab, and if God forbid it's at a 9 or a 10, that you're going to go ahead on the secondary market and be able to make a killing. So if that's the case, our brand, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our piece right now. And if you don't like it, you're not going to get your card back, or we can just go ahead and take it out of this slab. But, we being the degenerate gamblers that we are, we're more than happy to go ahead and pay, a ridiculous amount of money um, to go ahead and get that in our possession. And some people might keep it in their in their PC, but 9 times out of 10, when you get a card like that, you want to capitalize and you want to cash in, and then use that money to go ahead and then like for example, right now we have a gentleman, Shane Norton, who he made a gamble. He went ahead and he got the gold rock and got it raw, and then paid a lot of money for it. I would have never done that. Paid a lot of money for it off of eBay, and he went, sent it to PSA, and he got that call and said, "Hey, buddy, you got a nice little upcharge here." And Shane was like, "So are you telling me I got a Jemmy?"
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Yes, sir, you got a Jemmy on that rock gold." And so that card went from $3,000 to, some saying $20,000. So you want to talk about a come up. So Shane was more than happy to go ahead and pay that upcharge because it just makes sense. Now, there's the old school mentality where they're like, it's a scam. It's all a freaking scam. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just grade. If we're, first of all, I don't believe in grading, but if I were to grade a card, why would I pay you any more money? You guys are not doing any more work. If you're looking at a 52 mantle, or you're looking, you know what I mean, at a junk wax, Mark Jackson card from the 90s. There's no difference. You're not doing anything different. You might have one or two more if it's, say the, Honus Wagner that I have here. Raw, still got to get this one graded.
Ooh.
But
You got the refractor version.
yes, the refractor. That was the limited edition, 1905. You don't know nothing about that.
I got you.
That's
Talk
but
about talking about keeping stuff, from each
that's
other.
Right.
that's the T206.5. You don't know that.
Oh,
But
nice, nice.
yeah, but now I lost my train of thought because of you. But seriously, my thing is, like, old school people, they despise grading to begin with. But if
Mm-hmm.
God forbid, now we go ahead and get it graded, now I got to pay more money because you say so, then it becomes a scam. So it's really how you're looking at it. What do you think, Tone? You tell me.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've discussed this, pretty much a few times, and I'm with you on most of it. I mean, PSA fanboy alert over here. Uh, I mean, like I said before, to me, the card is the card. It doesn't matter whether it's a 1986 Mike Jaminski or 1986 Michael Jordan. To me, the card is a card. They don't do anything different. So I don't buy into that upcharge. But it's one of those things where you, like you said, you get the call, you're not going to be too sad about it, because you know that you've hit the lottery. So, at this point, the horse is out of the barn. Is that the saying? Right? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. At this point, that baby's off and running. That's not going to end anytime soon. So it's either, but the nice part is if you don't like it, there's other companies you can go and grade with. So have at it. Denny, you just did one with CGC, I think
Yep.
was the
Yep.
thing. So that's the great part. If you don't like it, there's other people out there that'll grade your cards, not upcharge you, but you just got to know that it's not gonna, on the secondary market. You're not going to get the return that you're going to get with PSA. So, yeah, that's where it's at. Go ahead, Danny.
All right. So Oz mentioned Mark Jackson, so I have to do it. Mama, there goes that man. All right. So here's the thing. This is the question that I posed, and I wanted to address here because I'm going to be doing a chapter episode and having guests on from grading companies, and it's all going to be about grading. I'm actually thinking I might record after this wonderful podcast recording. But here's the thing. For me, it's what are we willing to accept as consumers, right? I mean, yes, it could be the horse out the barn, but is it always going to be like this? Why don't other companies do this? Why is the number one slab company when it comes to resale value, right? I mean, I've said this before, and I'm not trying to poke the bear, rattle the cages, but why have we accepted this as consumers? Like, do we have power or do we not have any power? So there was a time when people talk about this, how BGS was the number one king and PSA was the one coming up, nipping on their heels. So, part of me is like, I know that there's this whole thing about declared value and like insurance purposes, and if they mess up the card, that's what the amount that they're gonna compensate you. One, like, I don't know about that, right? A little skeptical, but we live in a day and age where we demand a lot from companies because, of a social media age. Like companies get put on blast all the time. So for me, it's not about calling them out for nefarious practices. It's more of like, tell us why. There's that Backstreet. There's the tell me why. Like, tell me why. Tell me why in many ways. Tell me why it costs more to grade a card like that. Sure, it could be because you want a cut on that. That reminds me, by the way, I was listening to y'all talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and his handler, and I've heard those stories too from the National, where it's like she's like pre-grading or she's giving her grading assessment, like this is an 8, it'll be $3,000. It's like you're crazy. Like who's this PSA run by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's handler? Like it's a little bit too much here. But when it comes down to the transparency, it's like we as consumers, I think, want more information. We want to know why does it cost more. Just tell us instead of us guessing. Us on a podcast guessing. I also would love to know. Tell me why when it comes to when I think a card is a 10, a gem mint, like why did it get a 9? I would love to know. Tell me, was it the surface? Was it the corners? And that's why I do like the subgrades. There are some people who think there's too much information, right? When it comes to like the heat maps and like the green screen and all that stuff. Yeah, there you go, Tony. But when it's nonsense. But when it comes to information being power, I think that I just would love to know more things because I'm just generally a very curious person. I want to know. Again, that's kind of like my whole premise of my podcast is just trying to understand more. And so when people PSA, they're the clubhouse leader. They don't have to do anything because they know that they are number one. So, you know, they don't have to respond to people's DMs and comments. You got everyone else commenting like, "Hey, DM us. We'd love to talk with you." It's because they're trying to become, bigger in the market. But when you're the clubhouse leader, you just, you don't have to do anything, I guess. But I gotta say, at one point Blockbuster was like the number one movie rental company. Then came Netflix, and they came hard. And Blockbuster felt like they didn't have to do anything. And now they're just, they're a vestige of the '90s.
Yeah, totally agree with that, man. Like PSA right now, they're king of the hill, so they're riding high and they can do no wrong. But it's really dependent. It really depends on the hobbyist. Who are we going to go ahead and grade our cards through? We got companies like Tag coming up with AI, which to me is very intriguing. You want to know exactly what's wrong with that card, they will tell you a million times over what the hell's wrong with that card.
Yeah.
Now, is it information overload? Maybe. 50% of the population loves it, another 50%, like Tony, despise it. So PSA plays in this whole cloudy, murky, you never know what you're going to get, and when you do get it, you don't know why you got it, and it's take it or leave it. We're the best. And it's like the hobby has said, okay, I always talk about Mount Hobby. PSA, bang, that's the grading company. If it's in this slab, you're going to get the most amount of money for it, sometimes by like more than double a BGS 9.5, which is ridiculous. But
Yes.
that's they've gone ahead and they've put their sign of the cross on it, and they said, bang, that's what it is.
It makes you wonder, does the emperor wear any clothes, right?
Are
Like
you
you
talking about
have
Matt
this
Turner or
Listen,
Nat,
nobody's putting a gun to your head to grade with PSA.
It's
You got
true.
38 other grading companies.
Yeah.
That's
right?
the
But
nice thing about it. No.
that's
You
cool.
guys
No,
are over here
no.
pumping
But
all
what I'm
this.
saying,
Please, please.
it has nothing to do with that. What I'm saying is, regardless of if I wanted to go ahead and grade with HEA or CGC or SGC, the fact remains is 99% of the hobby is PSA is the best. So if I get a 10 or 9.5 in any of those other companies, it's basic. I'm not saying it's a waste of money, but it's a goddamn waste of money, because if I don't grade with PSA, I'm not going to get the value for that particular card. It could be the same exact card that you have, Tony, in a PSA 10, and I can have a BGS 9.5. You know what I mean? It's the same damn card. And basically they mean that they're the top of the line when it comes to the grading in both companies. But the fact that PSA is king of the hill, you can charge double, for that same exact card in another slab.
Listen, you can buy a pair of Air Jordans, or you could buy a pair of Air Wax.
No.
You ever seen Martin when he had Air Wax?
No.
Listen.
We're not talking that.
Oh, yes, it
No,
is.
we're not. We're talking about the same card. We're talking about a
Okay, right,
card
but
that's in
listen.
a different plastic cover.
Right. Well, that one
One
is the Air
plastic
Jordan, one is
cover.
the Air
No.
Wax.
They're both Jordans. But if I
Both
have a
Jordans.
Jordan in a shit box and I have a Jordan in a nice, custom box, I'm gonna, give me the custom box. But the Jordans are still in there and they're still dope as hell. It's the same shit. But it's like, because it's PSA and it has a corny ass red label, that makes it worth
Yeah.
50%
But
more. No,
listen,
no.
but you two can team up and be like,
No, I'm not
the
teaming up
tag
nothing.
team. Oh no, because listen.
No.
See, here's the thing. It's a lot of hot air, but no action. It's like, oh, why these guys do that? Why these guys do that? All right, well, guess what? Get a little group together and be like, yo, we're gonna look, listen, people pump stuff all the time here.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. All right.
Yeah.
So pump whatever, pump Tag, pump whoever it is. I'm just saying. And then because look, at one point, like you said, it was BGS was the top of the heap, and then these dudes came up. However they got there is probably by people spreading word of mouth or whatever it is. Like that didn't. It was like, it wasn't like there was a flip of the switch and all of a sudden they turn the lights on BGS. It's a movement. So I mean, if there is, and if you have a problem with what they're doing, I mean, hell, you guys do. We have platforms here. I mean, it's just a nice conversation we're having about it. But bro, at the end, like I said, you have choices to do it. You can just stop. This guy, he's funny. This guy right here with the green shirt, he kills me. Ask him.
I'm funny, but I'm not stupid.
So
I'm funny, but I'm not stupid, and neither is the hobby. So 90% of the hobby realizes, okay, I can go ahead and grade and get my card in one of these slabs right here.
The Fugazi, there it is.
The FGS, and I can get a 10 all day. That's a gem in 10.
Yeah.
But this is worth about $2, and I can get the same exact card and get it in a nice little crappy red label card plastic, and then I can charge 500 times that. And even though it's the same exact card, so it's a movement. So until the hobby decides as a group and says, you know what, we're tired of PSA dicking us around, not really telling us why they gave us the grades, and we're not going to play your stupid upcharge, and we're going to go with Tag, or we're going to go back to BGS, or we're going to go SGC. It has to be a mass movement. So regardless of what I think, you think, it has to be across the board where we all decide at one point, we boycott, how they like, it's all about canceling,
Oh, here we
you
go.
know what I mean? And not that I want to do it,
Yeah.
but that's
What's
the
wrong
only
with
way.
them? What's
Huh?
so bad?
There's nothing wrong with it,
And
but no other company charges you.
Listen,
You know what I
look.
mean?
Well,
Because if you, oh well, grade a 10 with us, buddy. Give me another $250.
listen. When Denny was up in there eating all that shrimp, right? All right, there was
Yeah.
a charge for that.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, at that
Wasn't
point,
that
Denny.
Beckett?
It was
Yeah,
the Beckett. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They had shrimp at Beckett, and PSA had like caviar, but that's neither here nor there. So,
Yep.
but anyway,
No, so here's the thing, cousin Tony. I am just of the belief that competition is good for any area of the hobby and any industry. So I think it just behooves the consumer if we have these companies have more equitable, say, resale value, because I think it just is like I will very much admit I have submissions currently pending at PSA. I've submitted more with PSA than other companies, but I'm definitely willing to give other ones a try out, especially if I believe in them and I like their, like if I like the feel of their slabs. I know everyone talks about resale value like it's the number one thing. That's the transactional side of the hobby. There are things that I'm trying to learn about the hobby where I just want to know what do I like, not being told what you should like, right? When people talk about collect what you love, it's talking about, don't listen to the masses or don't listen to these influencers and do what you want to do. That's kind of like when it comes to grading. It's like grade how you want, right? It's like don't just go with PSA just because everyone says you have to go with PSA. For me, I have nothing against PSA. It's just
yeah,
that I am of the belief that if we have more competition and more equitable resale value across the grading companies, that it's just good for the consumer, because then we can potentially see prices go down. I would love to explore the idea of why do cards cost, some companies charge $9 for these specials, $12, $15 is what PSA is recently doing, $15, but normally it's $21. All these numbers, they're just like numbers, right? And we as consumers absorb them, right? By the tens or 20s or even 100 if you're a group subber. And it's like it adds up. So when you think about, again, I have to have people on my podcast to talk about it, but like think about the piece of plastic. I mean, Beckett slabs feel really tanky and strong and sturdy, but when you look at the PSA slabs, and I got a ton around me, but they're so like, they're not the strongest
They're
plastic.
dainty.
They're dainty. They're dainty.
They're cute.
Yeah,
They're
they're
slim fit.
cute. They're very and people really don't like the thicker PSA slabs, right? I mean, I don't either too. It's just such a weird feel in my hands. But when it comes to it, um, if we want to see change, even when we think about like, people have said to me, like, why do you try to spread positivity in the hobby when you're not going to change the internet? And it's like, well, yeah, we're not going to change anything if we don't do anything about it. So I might as well try, because I am generally like a positive person. It's not like I'm toxically positive. I can be very skeptical of certain things, but unless we actually try to do things, nothing's going to actually get done. So, I'll give shine to underdogs. I'm an underdog. I love just giving shine to other people, and especially when they're like not the clubhouse leader. I mean, I think those people are the ones where it's like, you're bandwagoning, right? If you're just always fanboying the number one in anything. So for me, it's like I just love getting to know these other companies, because I just don't want to be told what to do all the time. Like I am like a skeptic in that regard.
I like
yeah.
that. I like that. And listen, all jokes aside, if it were up to me, if I were to say, okay, if they said, Cousin Oz, if you could pick any grading company from this point forward to be number one, what would it be? And to me, it would be Tag. And why I say Tag is because it's AI. And I know that we don't have to worry about a grader going in there and having a crappy day and grading the card based on regardless of whether he's feeling well or if he has quotas to make or if his boss told him, hey, listen, we had, let's keep these pop numbers down. There's all the conspiracies as to what goes on in PSA. We don't know. And I know with, Tag, they're going to grade that card and that computer's going to grade that card exactly the same every time and across the board. And if everybody were to get their cards graded by AI, there would be no questions. There would be no subjectivity going
Mm.
on. And, to me, that would kind of like be the best of both worlds. But, that's kind of like a pipe dream right now.
Mm.
just because of the fact that the money that's invested into these cards, and with PSA being king, you know that if it's in that slim fit slab with the nice little red top, you're going to get the most amount of money for it. And that's how the hobby goes.
Uh, can I just say, before cousin Tony says something, how did I know that cousin Oz was going to say that he loves AI grading with his love of Allen Iverson? AI. There
Bang,
you go.
bang. There you go.
Yeah,
Always plugging.
there you go. So all that stuff you guys said is all cute and rah 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 and let's go get them, and we got pitchforks and we got torches and all that good stuff. But you guys lose me because you're both subbing for PSA. So like it's either you're about the life or you're not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like can you see where I mean? It's like
Like I said, I'm
yeah,
funny, but I'm not stupid.
right. So then you're
Okay,
not
you,
really
you know
about
what I'm
that
saying?
life.
So as soon as that the hobby decides,
Okay,
so now
okay, but you are the hobby.
I'm not. No, I'm Oscar
You're
Torres.
the
I'm
hobby.
cousin
Denny's
Oz,
the hobby.
and he's Denny Cards. And if the two of us decided to go grade with tag, we are not changing the world.
Mhm.
Okay.
But the man just said if we don't try it,
Well,
it's
we
not
could
gonna happen.
try,
So
but it has to be across the board. We got to,
Well, you two are
we got to
the
boycott.
you ever heard the story of the Pied Piper? Yeah, I'm
Look at
saying
that.
one of y'all carry the flute and the other one.
oh gosh. All right, I have in my hands. It's kind of hard to see because of my. So this box, I believe, is from CGC. I submitted it in the national. I haven't made content about it. This is going to be. I'm going to make content about it really soon. But this is actually going to be a pure blind grade reveal because it's completely sealed. There was no virtual reveal video and link, and like Beckett also does a thing like, hey, do you want to check out your grades? I have no clue what's in there. I will say straight up. And this is not a plug for CGC because in any way, but I know that right now a lot of us are thinking grading sports cards grading. But I submitted to them TCG cards, Pokemon, not Pokemon this time, Disney and Magic the Gathering. And these Magic the Gathering cards were from a friend from childhood who, wanted me to maybe sell them. And I was like, these aren't in the best condition, but I would love to see what grade they get. And I would love to maybe even buy some of them off him because they evoke a lot of memories for me from childhood playing Magic the Gathering. The Disney 100 cards, those don't have to be there's some movies like Aladdin that I remember watching as a kid and singing in an elementary school chorus and all that stuff. But when it comes down to those cards, yeah, I mean that those communities actually really do like other slab companies, not just PSA. I know we think PSA is the number one resale king in everything, but um, the difference, the bridge is more narrow when it comes to say non-sports cards.
Yeah.
And just a little preview is I know that when I see the GemRate Instagram account talk about pop reports and how much got graded with the major grading companies, it's like 50% of it or more is Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
these companies, they are grading, the minority of their cards are sports cards, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good friend of ours, Bambino Sports Cards. He makes note of that often because he's in that space with the TCG stuff. And yeah, I mean, CGC is a major player there. So
Yeah.
there you go. I guess each his own.
Yeah.
Fellas, so we're coming up on the hour mark.
Oh.
I know. So I'm gonna let you pick. We have a couple questions here, yeah, but I just
Mm,
want to get to one more.
mhm,
There's one about your collecting sweet spot. What
mm,
motivates you to continue creating content? Or
mm.
then he has the last one more with
Yeah,
empathy
yeah.
and understanding for each other in the hobby online space. So you guys,
Oh,
I need
I'll
one.
let Denny, since Denny's the guest,
no. No,
I'll
no,
let
the
him
host.
choose.
The hosts.
Go
You
ahead,
guys
Danny.
host away. No,
Go
no,
ahead, Danny. Pick
no.
one. Pick one. There's no wrong answer. You got
All
what
right.
motivates you to create content, collecting sweet spot, or social media drama for your mama.
So I mean the empathy understanding thing, I just wanted to just, say that's it's like salmon going upstream. It's like we can do better as a hobby community with the words we say online. We don't have to be keyboard warriors and just see each other, the humanity in each other. So I think that one's easy. I think I just addressed it in like 20 seconds. Um, what motivates me to continue creative content? Like it's fun, really. There's no end game. People have asked me, what's your goals? It's like, so long as I'm having fun, that's all that really matters. And I love just creating, because I have a pretty boring job where I don't get to create. And so when I get to create, and I'm getting better at it, I love doing it. So I answered that in 30 seconds. The one that maybe I do want to talk about, because I want to hear from you guys first, before I go, is, what, like, your collections, right? Like, just tell me more about, like, I know I've listened to your stuff, like the collecting sweet spot, and like, the certain price points. I think what you guys say resonates with me, because I'm a low end collector too. But what do you guys look for when it comes to certain price points and certain grades?
For me, I actually have a stack. These are all my, I'll put it here in front of the camera. This is kind of like my Clemente run, what I have so far. And it's definitely, as far as grades go, it's going to be between a 3 and a 7. But with the 7s being the older ones, there's no 56 tops in the 7. That's a big boy card. And I found that if I'm like take my time with this stuff, I can get pretty decent cards between like 200 to 700, kind of in there, where they'll have decent eye appeal. Again, it takes a while, because all of these, I believe, yeah, all of these I've bought in person. I made the conscious decision not to buy these online. I mean, we talked about this last week, because guys can play games with the photos, make them look a little brighter and stuff like that than what they really are. And I found that if I take my time and catch them in person, because you can tell a lot more, that tended to be kind of, like found my rhythm in that little space right there. Anything above that stuff gets little dicey, especially with this older stuff. Because sometimes, like with these vintage cars, it might be graded an 8, but a 5 will look better than it. So if you don't, until you learn that, because in modern we're like, oh, it's got to be a 10, a 9, because an 8 is a piece of crap compared to a 9 in modern, because the cards pretty much all look the same. With this stuff here is a way different, man. A 3 could look better than a 6. I mean, I was gonna attest to it, man. I had somebody offer me what's my Clemente's a 5. They offered me a 6 for my Clemente rookie. That's a 5. I was like, nah, I'm good. But nobody, there's no hobby manual that tells you that. You got to kind of learn as you go along. So yeah, I figured out that kind of between a 3 and a 6, between that price range, tends to work out well when I'm picking these cars up in person. So that's kind of been the way I've been rolling, and we'll kind of keep it moving like that.
So all 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s are not created equal, is what you're saying.
That is correct, sir.
Oh, okay. I wonder who's the majority of that company that you're buying. But either way, my thing is,
however, here's the thing. See, you like to,
Oh, God,
because what happens
cousins.
is,
Cousins are gonna cousin.
Yeah, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know, bro. I know he's gonna come with this nonsense, so I'm like, I'm ready for that crap.
Love it.
Listen, okay, yes, there are human errors to it all. I will give you that, correct. Like the guy, he had a fight with his wife the night before, so like the hell with everybody's getting 2s and 3s, right? But the hobby recognizes that and adjusts the declared values to reflect.
So now I pay the grading company to grade my card.
Yep.
They go ahead and give their
an
professional opinion. They may even upcharge me on said card, because that card. But then the guys that say it's all a scam will come and be like, that's a nice grade, but I buy the card and not the slab.
Yes.
And that's actually a 3.
That's
now
correct.
This 3 that I have is actually a 5. So now we're just throwing numbers out there, and it all goes to perceived value, eye appeal, so on and so forth.
For the same reason that when you bust out that 10, right, the number then is the number, right? And then you go, the guy says to you, well, I can only pay 80% of that because I can't pay you what the thing says.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's all up for debate, and
so it's all a scam. That's what you're saying.
All this whole thing is. Listen, this is a house of
cards.
Love it.
No, as far as my sweet spot, all jokes aside, I like to bust balls. But when it comes to my collecting, obviously Allen Iverson is my main PC. So dude, Allen, the cards just keep coming out. So it's just like it's never ending, from
Mhm.
96 to now. You can go ahead. I can get some chunky patches. I can get some rookie cards. I can get some bling bling. I can get some bland bland. I can get some signature cards. There's just a plethora of cards that I can choose. So it's never ending. So what I like to do is, I always talk about, if you've listened to the podcast, my virtual checklist, which is the Philly card collector.
Yep.
So he's kind of like, I go onto his page on Instagram and I just look at the collection that he has and that he's amassed. Um, and it's, first of all, it's like nirvana. It's looking at heaven when you look at this thing. So you get to see anything and everything when it comes to Allen Iverson, and not only all the cars, but then they're all in the mythical highest grades
Mm.
that are in PSA. So you're looking at these cards, you're looking at perfection when it comes to this. So it's like, okay, obviously I cannot attain that. I don't have that type of money. So what can I do to go ahead and try to at least mimic that, to where if I'm going to save my money, I'm going to go ahead and little by little take every 6 months, let me get a banger, at least, at the national. Cause listen, I'm planning on living a substantial life. I don't plan on dying anytime soon. So my thing is, let me take my time with this. I'm in no rush. When I
Mhm.
first came in, I was, FOMO. I was trying to buy
Yeah.
everything and do everything all at once. Realize real quick that's not going to work. So now it's just a matter of taking my time and playing in that realm, whether it's going on eBay or some other type of auction place and catching. I love to catch auctions that are undervalued. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you'll quick look, and I'm delivering the mail, and I'll check. Let me put in PSA 10 Allen Iverson. Then I see something that's ending in
Mhm.
5 minutes. That's $50.
Mm.
Okay, you know what I mean? It's easy money, because even if I were, even if it's a crap card, I know that I can go ahead. I get it $50. I can go to the Philly card show and put it for 100 and make a quick 50 if I wanted to.
Okay. Okay.
But then, I don't like to go all willy nilly with it. I kind of try to stay on board. It's very tough because there's so many things to do, but I'm really trying to start with his rookie year, try to complete the rookie run, the main cards, the really, like, I guess my basis when it comes to that is the anything that Jordan had, all those inserts, those 90s inserts, all
Mm.
those Jordan bangers, I try to replicate that into Allen Iverson.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? So like the jambalayas and
Mhm.
cards like that, where we always talk about, you see the Jordan, you're like, oh my God, that's the most dopest card. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't afford that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I can get it in I'd still paying an arm and a leg for an Allen Iverson,
Mhm.
but it's way less than what it would be. So that's kind of like my sweet spot. So, mimicking what the Philly card collector, what he's done with his collection, and then also basing it on what Jordan collectors, the high end Jordan collectors, just, basically saying, okay, I can't do Jordan, I'm doing AI.
There's a particular card that Kobe and Iverson are on, a subset that I believe. I mean, I strongly believe, but now I'm like, now that I'm being recorded on the podcast, I'm like second guessing. But no, he doesn't exist on it. It's the EX Stardate 2000. Um, I have that in a Kobe. I pack pulled it as a kid. I love it. I think I'm gonna send it to grading. We'll
Where
see
are you
which
sending it?
company. Yeah, and exactly. I got to think about it now, right? But it's so funny. I actually have this one random MJ base card that I've sent to 3 grading companies. I initially bought it as an ISA, then I sent it out to PSA, and now BGS. And I want to see like what these other grading companies are going to do, because it was like a 10 and then a 9 and then a 10 again. So anyway, but no, I love that start date, because there's it's just such a beautiful card. So I don't know if you have that in your collection, but
Not the star date, no.
I I I
Dope
wish
card.
you the best of luck in getting it, because there are some cards, and it's not just that one card, but that's the one that comes to mind, where you don't even have to emulate the Jordan collectors. That is very uniquely the 96 rookie class type of
Mhm.
card, and it's a beautiful card. And like baseball has it with like Jeter and all that too, but I don't know baseball, so I'll move on from that. here's the thing. Before I get to the grades I collect and the cards I collect, because if you go through my feed, a lot of people are like, "Oh, we don't know what you collect, Denny," and it's like, I post my stuff. It's just that right now I'm still going through a lot of my national content and like fun meme content and ridiculous stuff. But you know, I think we have to briefly talk about these old PSA holders with these old cert numbers that start with 0, 1, or 2. And I know some people say it's not completely 100% sequential, chronological with the numbers, but when you see some of these cert number cards, holders with certain numbers starting with 0, 1, and 2. Let me tell y'all, I mean, I would love for listeners to do the same thing. Go to your collection, go to some of these older PSA slabs, look at them really carefully, because there's some cards that are graded Gem Mint 10 that I feel like if you cracked it and resubbed it, those are 8s and 9s
Yeah.
at best. Surface issues, edge issues, corner issues. I'm just looking at these. I'm like, I bought this card online thinking this holder will protect me and this is the card and it's a beautiful card. And I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I see a dimple near Jordan's knee. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this isn't a a gem card. This is a mint card. So um I love 90s cards. I mean, that's my childhood right there. And I also like the 2007, 2008. That's when the Florida Gators came out. Noah, Horford, Brewer, the much less known Torian Green, Chris Richards. But that's also the Kevin Durant year. I got to meet Kevin Durant once, and it was pretty awesome. That'll be a story for another time. But I love that time, and so I love orange Topps Chrome orange refractors out of 499. Upper Deck NBA Artifacts, very not well known because it was a 1 year set, and they do it now for hockey still. Upper Deck does, but for basketball is only at one magical special year. So I always look for those cards on eBay and shows when I can. Didn't find any at National. But when it comes to 90s cards, like there's a saying that shout out to my best card friend. His name is David Spinrad. He's the rated rabbi, and he told me this thing called a collector's grade. So because he's a vintage baseball guy, so he's like, collector's grade is when if you have a card from the 50s, it's okay for it to be a 5, not just PSA 5 but SGC 5, whatever. And if you go to the 80s, it's okay if it's an 8. Like, yes, you would want something higher, but like, these, we're talking about cards that are like 70, 80 years old. And so for 90s cards, like, I'm okay. Like, I say this not all the time. It's not like I'm known for saying it, but to me, 8s are great. For 90s cards, I don't mind an 8. Maybe there's a little edge wear, but I think, and I can't believe we talked so much about grading this episode, but for me, I think that there's so much focus with grading on the fringes of the card, corners, edges. These are the outside of the card. When you look at the card, the eye naturally draws towards the center of the card and the athlete's face or the action pose. Our eyes don't immediately rush towards, oh, let me see let me see that bottom right corner to see if a breaker like dinged it, putting it into a penny sleeve, rushing it in. Like, we look at the player's face. And so for me, eye appeal is super important. And so I love, and centering is very much an eye appeal thing. I will say that, like, centering is very important when it comes to like, but corners and edges, those are always going to be on the fringes of the card too. And surface is important, but how many times have we again seen just on its face, we don't see something, and then it's like when you put it under the magnifying glass or you put it under the halo ring, you really see that dimple near the player's knee, and it's like, oh well, that doesn't detract too much from the eye appeal. So eye appeal is definitely a subjective thing, but for me, I don't mind 8s, grade 8s for my 90s cards. And yeah, I used to love Jordan, and I just, as someone who's you know getting older and has kids, like, I realize he is very much you know uh, a a flawed person, like all of us are, right? But like the womanizing, the gambling, it makes me harder to root for him, I think. So I think people like Curry and LeBron, I mean, people hate LeBron for various reasons, but if the worst thing that he has ever done is like do a really bad decision, show saying where he was going to go, and he went to Miami instead of Cleveland. Like, I mean, he's lived a pretty squeaky clean life, I think. So, yeah, Jordan, LeBron, Curry. I love Vince Carter cards when they're like in the Raptors uniforms, and like just anything that's evocative of the '90s.
That's fair. So Denny, before we get out of here, you had some
Yeah.
stuff you got going on with slab stocks and stuff. Drop that real quick and
Oh yeah.
all that.
Again, they never told me to do this. I just saw their stuff and I just really felt compelled to just kind of uplift it. So Slapstocks Aaron is doing this charity for Camp Kesem. It's for kids who are trying to go to summer camp for free because their parents are afflicted with cancer. And I thought it's a really, I don't see a lot of charity stuff within the hobby. And I was like, this is such an awesome idea. And, speaking of like, clean content, I think they're known for not being too edgy and all that. And I didn't even get to meet Aaron at the National. Like, I remember I made a donation. I was like, hey, I'll see you at National. And he was so busy with everyone around his table. I was like, I'll come find him later. Of course, that didn't happen. So, I didn't cut any content with him. I didn't get to even see him. I mean, I saw him, but I didn't like get to talk to him. And I just like that he's doing that. And then, so I decided to put up some of my low end small Kobe cards that are indeed all in PSA holders, and they're mostly all PSA 8s. I know, cousin Tony, for the people who are
This is what
listening.
I'm saying. This is all. Yeah.
But I'm giving them away, right? I mean, they have pretty
Well, I
decent
mean, because
resale value. Yeah, I mean, they're all going to new homes, and so
if there were
um,
if there were another slabs, they throw them back at you. Go
oh
ahead.
my goodness.
Hey, listen,
So
look,
yeah.
listen. The clean stuff is for your show. Here, we like to get.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I let my hair down a little.
Yeah.
When it comes to and I made a little bit of a reel talking about like the Maui Strong because we have some collectors. I saw it in my feed. Some people with local card shops or some big collectors who lost their whole collection, and so Maui Strong Sports Card Nonsense is doing something like that for them, and I just wanted to uplift that as well. But the main thing, and I think I was very much inspired by the Wolfpack, and I really, the one of the biggest regrets I have about the National, and I don't have many, but was not making it to the Wolfpack trade night because I had all intents and purposes to make it, and and it just didn't work out. But I was inspired by people doing trade nights, and I was like, you know what, like what does it take? I wanted to learn about it, and then I was like, why don't I just try one? Why don't I provide value to the community, my local community? So I have a trade night coming in my hood, Alexandria, Virginia. People are it's September 16th. It's going to be the evening of Saturday. I'll be posting about it, often as we head up to that particular date. But I feel so embarrassed because people are telling me that they're going to drive from New York City and Richmond. So we're talking like 5-hour car drives. And I think instead of feeling embarrassed or like nervous about it, I think what I just need to do is just put on a really great event and just knock it out so people feel like it was worth it. So I'm gonna do my absolute best. I may bend the ear of y'all and Rob and people who are in the Wolf Pack to figure out how to just make it a really fun time. I remember listening to your episode about the pizza, the cops, the hallways, and I loved it. I loved getting to hear it because I could feel like I was there just because you guys are really good storytellers. And so that's all I really wanted to plug. I mean, honestly, it's about providing value to the community. Like we can all do it, whether it's a huge amount or a small amount. And by no means do I think I have a big platform. I'm still like learning and growing, but I just want to do my whatever I can, just the little that I can do to help others.
That's
I
cool.
appreciate that, brother. Listen, man, what you're doing, not a lot of people could do. It's not easy to get up on this mic and to do this content. I know it's difficult for me, and I don't call it a chore. It's just something, with me the way I am as being an introvert. So it
Mhm,
takes a lot for me. I got to get geared up and to try to put this show together.
mhm,
So you know it kind of we really didn't get into it. When we were talking about the empathy and what we need to do in this
Yeah.
hobby to push forward and be positive. And it makes me laugh with the whole toxic positivity thing. It's like,
Mhm.
to me, it's like, dude, like, just be positive. I don't care what's wrong with being a good person.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's toxic. It's too bad. It's like, get off your high horse. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a good guy in the hobby.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with caring about charities and pushing those types of things and uplifting not only yourself. I mean, a lot of the people that talk all that smack, they're worried about themselves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're just egotistical people, and whether it's jealousy or whether they have malice in their heart. The fact is, they got to get over it. My wife
Mhm.
always tells me when I get upset with her, she's like, it's a feeling, you'll get over it. And I'm like, you're right. I will get over it. And a lot of these people that are in the hobby, they need to get over themselves.
Mhm.
And if Denny wants to go on there and blast IG with some content, or if we want to get on here and we want to talk our smack, or if Rob wants to go on there and and do something for PWCC, he shouldn't have to get crap for it.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you to go ahead and tell me how to operate my life?
Yeah.
I don't go out there, you know, to do those types of things. So it's like, everybody just needs to go ahead, like Michael Jackson says, the man in the mirror. Take a look at
Oh, like
yourself,
it.
and what are you doing as a human being
Yeah.
to uplift society, to just be a better person, and to heal the world. And I'm
Ooh,
not trying
yeah.
to get up on my soapbox, but
No, man, I love it.
god damn it, it's time that this hobby and the people that are in this hobby gets off of their the bull crap, because that's all it is. And listen, we can all get along regardless, color, race, how you look, how you talk, all that's nonsense. The cards are the
Mhm.
vehicle, the community, the people, that's the big thing. I mean, we could all sit at home and we can collect our cards and we can be happy in our basements, and oh, look at all my cards. But if you don't have anybody to share it with, what is it? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's you can't take them once you die. You can't take them with you.
Mhm.
So you'll collect for that little bit of time. But if you never went out of your comfort zone and try to build relationships in a community with people, what good is it? You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, we love the cars, of course. Yes, we always say, yeah, well,
That's
I love
right.
the cars, and Rob will tell you, I love the car. Yeah, I get that. We all love the cars, but I love community. I love being able
Yes.
to reach out and coming out of my comfort zone. And
Yes.
Tony forcing me to get up on here on this mic, and to the amount of people that I've talked to, and just DM every day. And dude,
Mhm.
it makes me feel so much better as a person, as a human being, than I
Mhm.
did 2.5 years ago before I started. So it's like,
Yeah.
dude, continue doing what you're doing. Don't let anybody distract you, or just, it is what it is. You're
Yeah.
gonna get hate no matter what. People,
Yeah.
that's part of the game.
Yeah.
So, and if you're not, then you're not really doing it right. So, we've heard that. So, just
Yeah.
rise
Yeah.
above it, and just continue doing what you're doing. Tony, any last words, sir? I know you want to get up on the soapbox with me. I know you love to do that.
Now I like to kick the soapbox out from under you.
Oh. Ah.
I'll say this, Denny, you did a hell of a job sparking up, getting us to argue with each other. It doesn't take much, so kudos to that. We haven't had a guest fire us up in a while, so
Love
nice
it.
job on there. Yeah, no, I mean, with all that other stuff, man, I'll just say, be careful. Don't feed into it, because you be pulling some moves too sometimes. Let's just keep it 100. I'm like, yo, Denny, you can't have it both ways. So just,
That's true. Thank you
yeah,
for
I
keeping me
mean,
honest.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But with that said, I'll turn it over to the people's mailman to take us home.
Yeah, man. So appreciate you, Denny. Once again, thank you for coming on. Was a pleasure. Continue what you're doing. Tony, you're a jerk, but I love you. Um,
You owe me and you owe me a thank you. Like you know how he said he's like, oh, Tony. He's never actually thanked me for like taking him out of his basement and his turtle shell that he's been in. He's never been like, yo, you know what? Thanks for he said, oh, Tony forced me to do this, and I met all these people and blah 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 blah. But he never says, you know what? Thank you. But it's all right. He don't have to thank me. It's
you
all
Mm.
know
good.
what, Tony? Thank you.
You're welcome,
From the
brother.
bottom of
Oh,
my heart. I love you, bro.
I love
You
it.
know what I mean? Once we get off of here, we'll be on here for another 3 hours. So shut the hell up. No, but seriously, love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
You
I
guys too.
can't wait. I can't wait. This is like, dude, tomorrow's already Thursday. We already got Thursday night live. So it's like it's a never ending thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just cool. The community's great.
It
Love
is.
everybody that's ever reached out and done anything. And Danny, Danny, you're creating your community. So continue with that, man. And with that, we're just gonna end this like we always do, fellas. And we all know the tagline, and it is keep focused,
Mm-hmm.
keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, bring the beat back.